I read online, I saw that you do have 90 days out of 180 in the Schengen zone. So it's not like 90 days, you leave, you come right back, you get 90 more days. That's not how it works. But, which is contrary to what most people seem to believe. But if you have a residence permit for part of that period, then it's not considered overstaying. So let's say you have a residence permit that's valid for a year. At the end of that permit, the last day, you leave the Schengen area, and then you come right back the same day, you have a tourist visa, if you're from a country that gets a visa on arrival. And in that case, it's not considered overstaying to be in the Schengen area because you have two different visa types. So my argument there was, I had the Schengen visa before, but if I get a residence permit now, then that means I won't be overstaying. So technically I am overstaying now, but once I have a residence permit, I will no longer be overstaying and I'll be in the clear. The problem is, the guy was saying, since I'm overstaying at the moment, that creates some difficulties with applying in the first place. So they wanted me to write some kind of letter, and they're like, either you write the letter saying why you didn't come to us sooner, and then once I explained the situation, he said, well, then write a letter explaining why you think that you're not illegal. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's not a matter of opinion, but they were still insisting you are still illegal, and because you're here illegally, you're overstaying, you cannot upload your documents on this portal. You have to I just saw the reflection. You have to hand everything in person. And I'm like, okay, there's quite a few things that I uploaded on there that I would have to print, and since it's nobody around here has a printer, I would have to go to a print shop, and that would be a whole extra ordeal. So I would really rather if I could somehow just skip that step and just upload it directly. And I also have my passport pictures not with me physically where I could just bring them in, but I have a scan of them, which is pretty easy to upload online. So I'm like, what do I do to make this work so that I can upload through the portal? So I'm thinking I have to write this letter, but I kind of felt uneasy about the idea, as though I'm admitting to something, admitting guilt on some level, and that this can be used against me in the future, and I really shouldn't say anything. And then I was mentioning it to someone who told me that Hungary has this bilateral agreement with the US that means that that exists from before the Schengen agreement, and it's still valid, but most people don't know about it. But it means that for Hungary and Poland, because there's also one with Poland, you can stay 90 days, leave, come back, and immediately get another 90 days only in that country. So it's not for the rest of the Schengen area, but it's still really cool because you get your 90 days every 90 days in these countries. So then I realized, technically I don't even have to argue that, yeah, I'm overstaying, but once you give me residency, I won't be. It's actually a lot better than that. Like, according to this agreement, I'm not overstaying at all, but how do I prove it? Because I can't just show them some online blog, and yeah, I need something official. And the best thing I could find was a blog that said, you're not going to find this information online because they're hoping you forget about it, but you can ask your embassy directly. So I sent a couple emails, and like 30 minutes later, I got an answer from the Hungarian embassy in the US sending me this agreement in Hungarian, which, you know, I think was perfect for them. So I felt like I was fully equipped and kind of nervous, but still like ready to go back in there. So the guy was like conversing, after he went and talked to his boss and came back, he was explaining something to me, and then it was like he, I guess, didn't understand what I was saying, or he didn't know how to explain what he wanted to say. So he had two different colleagues come over, and they were talking to me and explaining, and he was just sort of listening. So I mean, I'm guessing, like, even though he's dealing with people in English, his English is really not that strong. And yeah, I really couldn't understand what they were saying. I could pick out a few words here and there, and the best I could do was hearing these hearing the numbers. So a lot of times I would hear them like reeling off numbers, and I could tell that it was a number, and I was sitting there trying to process and figure out which number exactly. So honestly, I didn't realize the finer details of the Schengen agreement, and that it's not every 90 days. It actually runs for 180 days, but once I did realize, I wanted to do everything I could to fix the situation and make sure I'm not staying illegally. You know, I have always you know, I guess it would be really easy to just overstay and not worry about it, and I think a lot of people do the 90-day thing even if they don't have this bilateral agreement, and they get away with it most of the time. And it's only really a concern when you're crossing a border, and a lot of times it's not an issue, but I really didn't want it to become an issue. So once I found out that I was mistaken, I wanted to make sure that I fixed the situation. But to be honest, I didn't come here planning to get a residence permit. I just thought, you know, I'm gonna do the Schengen thing as long as it takes and spare myself all of the bureaucracy. So yeah, I was not prepared to deal with any of this at all. And I think if it doesn't work out, it's not really gonna be the end of the world either. Like, I'm not really trying to invest everything I have into getting this, but I wanted to at least give it a try because you know, it would give me some sense of security, being able to stay and not having to worry about that. But if it doesn't work out, there are other options.